Welcome to the Maryland Mortgage Rate Weekly Mortgage Market Update for the week of August 18th, 2014. Hello, I'm John Thomas with Primary Residential Mortgage, here to give you an update. Well, last week was very good for Maryland mortgage rates. They were able to move lower. If you take a look at the bond chart on the screen, you can see we were selling off, but we found a bottom on Monday, green candle there. And then from Monday, the bond market was able to rally higher, starting that short-term trend for mortgage bonds to move higher, which moves Maryland mortgage rates lower. And Friday, we were able to close at a high for the week. So what moved the bonds higher was we had some weaker than expected economic news. And then we had some geopolitical events still dominating the headlines. That's Ukraine and Russia fighting there. That's in Iraq, we've got the ISIS, Islamic militants, taking over northern and western Iraq, fighting the Kurds. And then also they have control of part of Syria. And so that's big destabilization there. And then we've got Israel fighting with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So all of that's dominating the headlines. That's moving money from the stock market to the safe trade of the bond markets. That helped mortgage interest rates. So we're going to recommend that you float your Maryland mortgage rate to start the week to see if the bond can build on this momentum. And we may see Maryland mortgage rates reach some of the lows of 2014. So take advantage of that. If you have not refinanced yet, you may want to consider that. And then let's dig into some of this economic news. The first week report we saw was the retail sales report for 2014. It was a bad report. Retail sales did not change at all from June to July. This was the lowest reading in 6 months, and in the report it showed consumer spending slowed in almost all areas of the economy. So this was not a good report, and it was not in line with the GDP reading of 4% growth for the second quarter that we got a couple weeks ago. So we're going to have to watch and see if the second reading of GDP comes out lower, because you can't have a good GDP and consumer spending dropping in all areas. We're going to definitely watch that for you. And then we did have some other bond-friendly news last week. We had a reading on inflation at the wholesale level called the Producer Price Index, the PPI. It came out at a change of only 0.1% from June to July, and the yearly actually dropped from 1.9% to 1.7% for a measure of inflation. That is definitely bond-friendly news, well below the Fed's target of 2%. So that helped the rally this week as well. Then we saw weekly initial jobless claims come out on Thursday. Again, another weaker than expected report. Initial jobless claims ticked up from 290,000 claims the previous week to 311,000 claims this week. Now, it's still in the low 300,000s, not a super bad report. But the 4-week moving average did tick up from 293,000 to 295,000. So we'll have to keep a watch on this. If they can stay in the low 300s, dip back down to the high 200s, that's going to be good for the labor market. But if they continue to tick up, that would be bad. Now, in housing news, Realty Track came out with a report on foreclosure filings, and it actually showed a 2% increase across the nation for foreclosure filings from June to July. Now, even with the increase from June to July, though, foreclosures proceedings dropped 16% on a year-over-year basis. So that's still good news there. And July marked the 46th consecutive month of foreclosure activity declining on an annual basis. So even though we had a slight tick up from June to July on foreclosure activity, year-over-year we still dropped 16%. Still good news on the housing front there. Now, if we switch to the local news, the next first-time homebuyer seminar is actually this Wednesday. That is August 20th. That's from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's in Laurel, Maryland. And then the next one after that is Saturday, August 30th. That's in Towson, Maryland, at the Sheraton Baltimore North Hotel on Delaney Road, and that is from 10 a.m. to noon. And then the next one in Frederick, Maryland, is Saturday, September 13th, from 10 a.m. to noon at the Holiday Inn Conference Center right there in Frederick. Now, you can register for either one of these three events by giving us a call in the office at 410-412-3319 or online, www.marylandhomebuyerseminars.com. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.